So in our generation, we didn't even have access to terms like panic attack, self-medicating and all of those terms that sort of trip off the tongue of millennials, we never had. Or they'd say, oh, it's in your head. I know, that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
It's in my fucking head.
We're here in London Pixels Studios. First time I've used these places, and it's a really wonderful place to shoot Shappi Khorsandi, Shaparak Khorsandi. I think she's fantastic. She's a really, really good comedian. She's got so many books out now, and she's coming here today to be shot and interviewed by me. Waiting for Shappi Khorsandi. Shappi or Shaparak? Hey. Hey, Shappi.
How
Shaparak.
are you?
Shappi.
How are you?
Oh, sound very good.
Do we curtsy?
Can we hug?
Yes,
We're allowed
we
to hug.
can.
You've got your makeup on, haven't you? So,
Yes, I have.
brilliant.
I've got all my things.
Okay, let's.
Where's my dress? I haven't got my. Where's my dress?
Oh, because you were going to wear your dress for the red dress.
Yeah, I've got. Oh
No.
Fuck. I'm so sorry. I'm such a fucking idiot. All right.
We'll work it out.
I'm gonna not stress about it now.
Don't stress.
Okay.
Your dress, right? You came by cab from Ealing.
Yes. So I was gonna wear this amazing dress that I don't really have an occasion to wear it unless, like, you know, Prince Charming invites me to the ball. And I got a taxi here. I get very car sick. I get car sick like a 4-year-old child. But I thought I'm gonna put up with car sickness because I don't want my beautiful dress to get ruined on the tube. So I carefully didn't put it in the cab. Got here. I just sat in the cab and thought, oh, this is much better for my dress. And
There was no time when you were in the cab having a look at your dress.
no, and the reason for that is not ordinarily I'd be fussing around, but the cab driver, the entire time, I was locked into his conversation. The entire drive to here, he was on the phone to somebody, in depth discussing how to make the best patty.
So, but not once do you look around your possessions and think.
No, I was in deep about the patties.
But it turns out you've got a fantastic velvet suit.
I decided to wear this today because a declutterer came to my house.
Oh, you had one of those?
Well, only because I've got ADHD and my house gets into mad disarray. This woman came over and threw away all my things. And she said about clothes for best. She said, you got one life. Don't save this for best. Just wear what you want when you wake up.
So
There's no such thing as best.
We'll go back to ADHD in a minute, because I started reading your book and it made me really laugh because you go straight to chapter 1.
So chapter 1, but it's not chapter 1, it's the intro. But if I'd called it intro, people with ADHD wouldn't bother reading it.
What a great start to a book on ADHD. That's very good. Is it cognitive behavioural therapy or medication, or a bit of both?
A lot of kids have medication because the school system is set up for neurotypical kids.
Yes, okay.
Our education system isn't set up to bend to individual needs.
Unless you've got money.
Unless you've got money.
Yeah.
And same with our work.
Yeah.
If you're regarded as a shirker because you get up and go to the loo every 10 minutes in your job, but actually it's because you can't sit still. You know, I didn't take my tablet today, can you tell?
And is that what you were saying?
It's
That might be the
weird.
reason why you didn't bring your dress?
Yeah. My issue with coming out and being publicly ADHD is the amount of people that get in touch with me because they want the medication. And I would say that the medication is nothing without nature, without exercise, without learning about ADHD, without therapy. I know therapy is expensive because you need to come to terms, almost like a grief of how your life would have been had you known earlier. Like, I didn't know I had anxiety that was linked with the way my brain couldn't process things effectively, in the same way so I heard someone say, just like a dog doesn't know it's a dog. I didn't know that you could live without this constant churning agony.
It's the norm for you.
Yeah, it was just the norm, and it was painful, but I was like, well, how can I get rid of it? People with ADHD understand when you talk about the motor constantly inside you, but when you are next to a mountain or amongst trees, like, nature just shuts you up
But the nature of what we do, you do as a stand-up, can you be a peaceful comedian?
It's interesting, when I first started seeing my therapist, and he said, there's something you might consider, that this might change your whole attitude and aspect to your work.
Right.
And it really has. Stand-up is kind of an addiction. I'd be out pounding the streets every night, gig after gig after gig, every single night. I saw no reason to sit at home. And after I had children, once they were in bed, I'm like, what am I going to do? Why am I in the house? They're in bed. And I'd go and do gigs, running, with no thought really to the creativity and what I'm getting out of it. It was like quick hit.
But having that, once you kind of know what's going on a little bit more.
So in our generation, we didn't even have access to terms like panic attack.
No.
Or anxiety. We used to go paranoia. That's what we used to describe anxiety as. Oh, you're being paranoid. It's like, well, I have a physical feeling that's keeping me awake at night. Paranoid is like a bit of a fleeting thought. Self-medicating and all of those terms that sort of trip off the tongue of millennials, we never had. We never had like mental health chat. You were either mental or not mental.
Yes.
Or they'd say, oh, it's in your head. I know, that's what the problem is. It's in my fucking head.
Bloody hell, eh? Let's go back a bit. Shappi or Shaparak? Because,
call me Shappi.
Because I remember having a chat with you and you were saying, I'm going to change my name back to Shaparak because Shappi was, I can't remember what the reason was.
I was so ridiculed at school because of my name, Shaparak. When I went to high school, I got absolutely rinsed. Every time the teacher said the register, everyone would start laughing. And it really upset me. See, ADHD, rejection sensitivity. When I left school and went to college at 16, I registered as Shappi. Easier for people to say and...
Shappi. Yeah, it's easy to say, but Shaparak is really nice. Let me get you on a chair.
People do, I think it's when people overthink it, where they get a name wrong.
And then they're trying to say it right, and then it's getting even more wrong.
Crackerjack? Shaparak? My point is that I got really old and I thought, my parents aren't going to be around forever and literally no one will know what my real name is. My kids didn't know my real name was Shaparak. So I wanted like all my books and stuff to be Shaparak. I feel like I reclaimed it because we've moved on culturally from that's a funny name. It was Mr. Punch at Covent Garden.
Really?
Yes, I was a little girl. And Mr. Punch said, what's your name? And I said, Shaparak. And he went, hi, Chaparral, which was an old TV program, Hi, Chaparral. That's a funny name. And I cried because Mr. Punch bullied me. Who'd have thought?
I learnt to do Punch and Judy.
Did you?
I just started out doing kid shows and I bought a Punch and Judy set with Crocodile, Judy, obviously, and the baby, the policeman.
And he did get punished. He did get taken to prison for being a wife beater.
Taken down, The crocodile ate him as well. Ate the sausages, then ate Punch.
Ate the sausages.
First gig?
Camden Head. I was on with Brian Higgins and Steve Merchant. And if I remember correctly, it was also Steve Merchant's first stand-up gig in London.
What the hell's happened to him?
He grew.
Did he?
He grew very tall.
But Brian Higgins, he was really into photography. So he's given up. He had PTSD, I think, and all that stuff. We should talk to him about that.
From the photography?
Do you get that? That's quite funny. Is it? We'll have that. No. I think he was in the army.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes more sense.
We're all a bit mad. We can use the word mad, or different.
Yeah.
And we were all on the kind of peripherals of the society, weren't we? Well, we were doing it.
What?
Thought, I can't believe we're doing this.
I think when we did stand-up, we were proper misfits.
Yeah.
It was the closest thing we had to punk. So we were too late for punk, and what we had though was the comedy circuit, and that's where the misfits went to.
Mad acts. Yeah.
Absolutely mad. Like it was completely normal to have someone come on stage and just take all their clothes off, not really say anything about it, and just carry on talking naked. And it was a bit like Wild West, and that really fed my need for chaos. I loved it. I don't think I would have been a stand-up if I was the same 20-year-old as back then. I think I would have done parkour. Or something. Yeah, because it wasn't about making money back then. We all were able to get some kind of housing benefit and there were still squats to live in.
Yes, I remember that.
So you could live in London and be really poor and still feed yourself and be a comic. But nowadays, younger people have to be more businesslike or they're starved. You cannot be poor while you're trying to make your dreams come true.
No.
It's a real difference. I'm trying to pretend I'm making serious points while not sliding off this chair.
That's right.
My bum's too big for this chair. Making a serious social point about the arts.
Oh, that's a good one. Let me get that one. Hang on. Oh, that's really good. Let's do a jumpy one.
Because there was no internet either, so you could do mad shit and no one wouldn't hear about it or know about it. But now, like, if someone went on stage and like took all their clothes off, there would be so much on the internet about I just saw someone's dick and I didn't plan that for my Saturday night out. I'm not rolling my eyes, I'm not advocating for the freedom of all people. But I remember about going on stage, it was a big thing. And these other comedians behind me, and the compere was about to introduce my name. Please welcome to the stage. And they went, Shappi. And I turned around and they had their pants down with their willies out. And then he went, Shaparak Khorsandi, and I went, ah! And I saw their willies, and then I ran on stage and I did my set.
Can you imagine
that now? Can you imagine that today?
Yeah.
No, but there's been other stuff that I have been offended, like, you fucking cock, you've just tried to undermine me.
Right.
Not then.
How is it like as a woman on the circuit now, opposed to then?
Compares would often say things like, the beautiful, the gorgeous, I want to fuck her and I bet you will too. And Shappi, and I would, hello. And back then, there wasn't the awareness that we have now. We weren't as empowered as we are. We were on your own. There wasn't that army of women comic WhatsApp groups to support you. No one talked about this. You never gigged with other women. I never gigged with other women. We were just these quietly going about putting up with all this shit. When I started on the circuit, I was 23, right? I've got wild anxiety. I'm doing this mad journey of becoming a stand-up. Somebody rang me and she said, you're getting a reputation on the circuit as being a bit of a slapper. And the other female comedians are saying like this and this about you. And now I would say to that person, how dare you call me up and tell me this shit? Like, what are you trying? But back then I was like, I felt like I'd been shot. I felt so I didn't trust anyone for about 30 years. When there are too few of you,
yes, okay,
there isn't that.
It's more of a competing rather than saying,
It was really upsetting, actually. And there was like rumours going around about me that I was shagging this really famous comic back then. And I only met this really famous comic a couple of years ago.
I started that rumour.
Thank you. It was quite kudos, actually, because he was hot.
Was he? Good shot, like that shot. So being a young female comic way back then.
Yeah, so I used to not wear any makeup on stage. I thought these stupid things that people said to you, like, oh, women in the audience are going to hate it if you look glamorous. The most misogynistic things coming from other women. I had a rule that I wouldn't sleep with comedians, and I didn't unless I married them or went out with them.
Yes, you did, didn't you? Yeah.
They did, like, producers and stuff were always trying to shag you. Like, you'd get asked out for lunch by a producer and then they'd try and kiss you. And then when you are a young woman, some men just lose their shit, really. And nowadays with Me Too, I feel that I can handle it in a much more empowered way. But back then it was just something you just had to navigate, like landmines.
Yeah.
You just had to just avoid that and then don't see that person again and try not to be in this.
Best gig?
Oh gosh.
Haven't prepared you for this. If you can't think of one, don't you worry.
I always think the best gig was like the one I did most recently. I was at Crystal Palace Film Festival and I had such fun on stage, sort of doing a bit of stand-up before it all kicked off, and it was just so much fun because stand-up's so much fun and I never used to find it fun. I used to treat every single gig like an audition. I do remember like high pressure gigs where like you do a 5-minute set and then you might get paid 10.
You're right.
Oh, here was the thing that I fucking hope doesn't happen now. Like, you do a 5-minute open spot somewhere And then the guy who runs it sits down and gives you like a proper dressing down of like, well, you did this. And back then, like, I would just sit there and go, okay, sir. Like, as though I was being told off by like a head teacher.
Rather than being free and just doing exactly.
And I'm like, yeah, well, of course I fucked up. I've just started, you idiot. Yeah. Either like, let me do another gig or don't. But don't sit me down like, and make me feel like I've just, you know, wet myself.
Worst gig. Have you had a worst gig?
Yeah, in Benidorm. Last year. I can't believe it's so recently. My worst gigs were like back in the mists of time. I actually thought I'd got to a place where even if I died on stage, it wouldn't spiritually hurt me.
Just to do one gig though?
I thought it was one gig, but I got there and throughout the conference, they got me to get up about 6 times to the same audience in this little holiday resort. That was a reoccurring nightmare I have, is having to do a gig to people who've just heard the same set. And then the main bit that I was doing, I was on stage at midnight in a restaurant, no stage, no lighting, no compare. Go up and do your comedy now. And I was meant to do an hour.
An hour, jeez.
But I still had that 90s comic worry that if I don't do this little corporate in Benidorm, then I'll never work in Hollywood again. It was a bit like that. And then I had to get the plane back with everyone that was at the conference.
Oh man. I mean, I had something very similar where I was in the Falkland Islands doing the Forces gigs, and I was told that it would be a different audience each night. And they were all standing, all British troops, and they ripped me one. I just came out and they just didn't buy into what I was doing. I had to do like 40 minutes. And it's the Falkland Islands, there's nowhere to go. And the next night, I thought it was a different lot. The same lot came back.
No.
And they just
No, that's worse than Benidorm.
It was terrible.
Do you know what, Steve? When I did Benidorm, I said, I challenge any comic to come and tell me they've had a gig worse than that, but that is way worse, actually.
Yeah, it got to my soul, that. So this is the last bit of our little bit where you're on the therapist's chair there.
I like this.
Yeah.
Therapy changed my life.
Having therapy. And now you're learning it.
I'm training to be a Gestalt psychotherapist. So Gestalt's all about your body.
Right.
And embodiment and semantic psychotherapy. But for my 50th birthday, I bought myself a 10-week course as a present to myself. I like learning different modalities of psychotherapy, like little tasters.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with Gestalt. Oh my God.
It's good that you had a broad look at... Yeah, and then you chose that.
I chose to study Gestalt, and I'm studying my master's to become a Gestalt therapist.
You're going to practice and you're going to...
Yeah.
And still do all your other bits.
Always do stand-up, always do writing.
I always had this kind of thing of this pigeonholing yourself, saying I'm a comedian, and I had that for years and years and years. There's no reason why you can't do something else. You don't have to be one thing all your life.
Well, you know, Gestalt psychotherapy is, or Gestalt methods, they're kind of, they're sort of adopted in clowning schools and drama schools. It's very creative. Psychotherapy for me, it feeds that same part of me that loves stand-up. It's an insatiable curiosity about other people and connecting with other people, but it does it in a much more real way to make that connection with another human being in a space where you can be of use to them and support them through changes they want to make in their life or in themselves. Oh my God, it's like the best thing. It's the best thing, and it's made me feel so...
You sound joyful.
I could cry. It brings me great joy, and it's fucking hard. Like, right.
I can't believe that you've come to life.
Right,
talking
I've got to tell you this, Talking about comedy, I was like, and then this, and then this.
Exactly.
But when you train to be a psychotherapist, you do these things called group practice, where you and your group of people that you're studying with, you all sit around and you very honestly tell each other how you experience each other. People are so fucking honest that it turns you inside out. I can't explain it. It's not that anyone said you're an arsehole, we hate you. Actually having people very honestly just factually say how they experience you, what you learn is the most important way to leave the planet. I think what you learn is just about yourself. You learn about yourself and you learn that nothing's personal. And that is a huge thing to learn.
Isn't it momentarily personal? Or
No.
It's not even that?
It's something that's very easy to say that it's not personal, but when you actually practice, group practice, connecting people in that way and rupturing relationships, working to mend them, you can learn that it's not personal, but you have to experience it to really understand that it's not. You can explain it logically, intellectually, write papers about it, but to actually feel it, you've got to go through it, and it's really unbelievably out of your comfort zone, my comfort zone. Wow.
There's some clown schools that do that where they strip you down.
Yeah.
They completely annihilate you.
Yeah.
And then they build you back up again.
So, like stand-up, all this shit. So stand-up is very much like love me, love me, love me, right?
Yes.
But clowning is love you, right? And that is a seismic difference, isn't it? In order to be a therapist, in order to put yourself in a position to hold space for someone else, to tell you things that they can't tell anyone else, you have to really know yourself. You need to deal with how you're going to respond to everything that they are bringing to you. Yeah, it's so... it just makes my whole body tingle. It's so fucking
amazing.
joyous.
That's lovely because you carry on learning, and the idea that that's how we felt about stand-up in the early, and that's how you're feeling that this is a kind of a new kind of... Wow.
Right, this is the thing, because this is how I felt about stand-up. I just thought stand-up was the most joyful thing. Like I used to record my gigs and play it for my parents. Look, see, they laugh. Did you hear them laugh?
Yeah.
And then cut to, I'm doing live at the Apollo. I don't even bother inviting my parents because it's just like, well...
But now you've kind of found a new love for stand-up as well. It feels like it. I don't know, you know, you sound like you're in a really good place.
I am in a good place, and I think the difference it's made with stand-up is that I don't care about the industry anymore. I do not give a shit about the toxic fucking industry. I'm not waiting to be picked. Finally, I feel I'm being a creative person. Before, I was so tightly wound up, I had no access, I had very little access to my own creativity. And I feel it's a return to me when I was 10, that I would create something out of nothing and not care if it was good or bad. And I think that's really important.
That's a great place to finish. But very quickly, but because your Scatterbrain book's out.
Oh yeah, I wrote a book called Scatterbrain, and it's out in paperback on the 5th of September, I think.
Yeah.
And
it's great.
I'm not very good at marketing it. I think I'm okay to leave the planet knowing that I'm not a very good businesswoman.
Yeah. Shaparak Khorsandi. Way!
Oh.
You've been fantastic.
Thank you.
It's so good.
And thank you for doing something that's like includes comics.
Well,
that's
I think
good. I watch it and it's really good.
Good.
But I
You'll
said
be the
yes
next one.
that I'll do it.
Yeah.
Without watching it. So please don't think I'm one of those people that watches it first and then says yes. I say yes according to who's asking me.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Is that better?
I'd do anything for you, dear.
Get that on.
Anything for... I'm now auditioning, singing. Someone will say.
We don't audition.
Anything for... I can't sing. For you. Da, 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 da.
If you like these videos, I'm sure you do, you do the like button down below, and also subscribe. That's the big thing. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll give you lots more content, some great comedians and other people maybe.